Good morning and welcome to this webinar. What are we going to talk about today? Today's webinar is about Reyee, specifically the SOHO products. So like the first slide says already, we want to give you a little bit more an idea about the SOHO products, so you can basically be then a specialist about the Reyee SOHO products. What are we going to do in this webinar? First of all, we have a little PowerPoint presentation talking about the different products. And then in the second part, I'm going to do a little demo about a mesh network. And then second part in the demo would be like a little remote setup with a really interesting device, which I'm going to show you later on. First of all, we're going to talk about our Wi-Fi routers we have in our catalog. First up, we have a really interesting device, a really stylish Wi-Fi 7 router, which I have here on the table, which we're going to see later on also in the cloud itself. So this is how the device looks like, really futuristic, really interesting with its 5 antennas. What we have here on this slide is just a little overview about the specs of the device itself. Like I said, Wi-Fi 7, ultra-fast Wi-Fi speed. We have several ports on this device. Just give me the device again. So here on that side, we can see we have our one port, and we have 2.5 gig ports, and here on the other side we have another 4 gig ports. So a really interesting device. The device is mesh compatible. We're going to go later on a little bit more into the detail what is a mesh setup, but this device is compatible with all the other devices which have the mesh option as well. And like all the other Wi-Fi, all the other Reyee devices, they can be managed through the cloud. And the cloud is completely free, like it says here, lifetime free cloud management. Okay. So this will be one of the routers. Obviously, we have more routers, but we just picked out this one specifically because I think it's a really interesting one, and also because it has Wi-Fi 7. We're just going to go down now from Wi-Fi 7 all the way down to Wi-Fi 4, just step by step, go through all the routers. Then next up, we have those two models, the RG-M18 and the RG-M32. We have those devices, they normally come in package because they're specifically thought for a mesh setup. So we have 2 devices which always come in a pack, but we can also have them individually. As we can see, it's a Wi-Fi 6. Again, ultra-fast Wi-Fi speeds. All devices have, like on the top here, like a powerful signal, a light indicator where you can see where the device has its best signal. And again, the device can be managed in the cloud. Like I said, the M18 and the M32 with different speed. Obviously, we can see this later on also on our homepage what the specific stats are of those devices. Okay. Then next up, Wi-Fi 6 router. Here we have 2 different models. The EV series. I think this is a really good basic Wi-Fi router. Easy to set up, full coverage obviously. We have connections all the way up to 192 devices. And again, the device is compatible or has the mesh solution just by one click. And again, like the other devices as well, lifetime free cloud management. We can add them to the cloud and can basically manage the device from all over the world where we just are from the cloud. We have one of the 2 devices Also here on the table, or I have it here on the table here. Also you can see on the antenna itself the Wi-Fi 6 at the back with all the connectors, and specifically with the mesh button to connect the device to the mesh network. Then we go to the next slide, Wi-Fi 5 router. Again, a really good basic model. Basically, all you need, full coverage. Again, same easy setup. Here we just go a little lower with the current connections. We can go all the way up to 96 devices. Mesh setup, and again the device can be managed through the cloud itself. Also the Wi-Fi 5 router, that one we have is from the EV series. Then we have our next device, Wi-Fi 4 router. A really interesting device because later on in the demo I'm going to use this device to show you that you get for not like it's a really cheap device price wise, but really handy. I think this is the device we would recommend for every installer to have always with him for every installation. We're going to see later on why that is. Again, really similar points here. Again, free cloud management. We can set it up as a mesh setup. Obviously, we have here some limitations, just 16 devices. But again, easy to set up. So those are basically all the Wi-Fi routers, all the way from Wi-Fi 7 with the nice device I showed at the beginning, all the way down to Wi-Fi 4. Exactly. Then next up, we're just going to talk about the extenders we have from Reyee. Let's go just to the next slide. Wi-Fi 4 extender. Also have here one on the table. This is the EW300R device. This is basically just to extend the Wi-Fi signal to basically every corner of your home with a built-in signal amplifier. Exactly, we have a 3-bar indicator. So this is the actual device. As you can see, we have here the 3-bar indicator where you can see where we have the strongest signal. Those devices also can be set up in a mesh network and also can be added to the cloud and can be managed through the cloud. So I think it's a really handy extender, small. You can plug it in to your wall plug, exactly with the two antennas, and like I said before, with the 3 LED indicators. So this will be one of those 2 devices we have here in the slide. Okay, let's put that aside. Then next up would be our 4G routers. Now we also have 4G router in our catalog. Exactly. So this will be the model. It's the EW300T. Also a really handy device, especially because actually there's no real configuration needed. So you basically just put in your SIM card. No wires need to be connected. It's basically plug and play, and can also be managed through the cloud. So if you're looking for a Wi-Fi 4G router, this could definitely be a good option for you. Okay, then let's go a little bit more into the technical part of the Reyee SOHO products. We're going to talk about a little bit about the working modes. So what are the different working modes we can set up in the devices? Okay. For the working modes, we have here like 4 main modes. First up, obviously, we have the basic router mode. Just create a private wireless network and then just connect your devices to that network. So really basic and simple. Then next up, we have the access point mode. So basically just add wireless capabilities to your wired basic network. And also you can extend your coverage, right? Just with different access points in your network, you just expand basically or extend your Wi-Fi coverage. Then we have our repeater mode. So this is also basically extending the signal or the coverage. And like it also says here on the slide itself, just to eliminate dead zones in your actual setup. So the devices can also be set to repeater mode. And then next would be the WiISP mode. So basically just connect your ISP wireless network and share the network to other devices. Okay. Especially the first three modes we're going to see later on in the demo, but that just to have an idea, Reyee offers those 4 modes in their devices you can then set up. Okay. So next up, benefits. What are the benefits, or why should you use a Reyee device, a Reyee router, extender, etc.? Here we have a really nice slide with two points. So the Reyee products, especially the SOHO products, because we're focusing here on the SOHO devices, so small office and home office, smaller or mid-size installations. The Reyee devices actually offer parental control. So what can I do in the parental control? I can just basically limit access. I can have speed limits. I can have blocked devices, or I can set up a schedule where I can say, hey, a specific device, for example, for my kid or for a guest, just has a limited access. Like for example, just from 8 to, I don't know, for example, for 2 hours, if it's a kid, just for 2 hours a day, can use has connection to the router. And the second point, also like the health mode. Obviously, this is also an important point. Radiation. So we can basically just by activating the health mode, just limit the radiation exactly. So those are the 2 points. Then we also have on the next slide something which is really interesting, or which just is helpful. All the Reyee products are basically can be managed through the web interface, but also through the application. It's a really easy setup. It's friendly configuration, connecting to the internet, and with a few clicks you basically have set up your router or your extender or your mesh network. Okay. And then this can also be done through the application itself. So Reyee offers an application. Here on that slide we have the QR code for the Google Play Store and also for the App Store. So you can download your application, add the devices, and just with a few clicks, also, or as it says here on the slide, you can set up your network with your fingertips. Okay. Okay. Then next up, Reyee Mesh. I have just mentioned it now several times through the products I have presented. So now we're just going to see a little bit more what is an actual mesh network. Here in the next slide, we can see it visually, what it actually is. So it's basically just the full coverage, and it's an easy setup. So basically just to cover your whole setup or your whole network or your whole installation, that you have basically signal wherever you want or wherever you need it. And the mesh network is basically just several devices connected to each other. So they can also be, here in this case we have a main router and we have 2 devices which are added to the mesh network, but there also could be like more devices added to it. And basically what this mesh setup is doing, it's basically just always looking for the best route. Or if, for example, there's a device which is failing, let's say we have here on top, we have another device on the 3rd floor, for example, and we see that, for example, one device is failing, the route is just going through the other one all the way to the 3rd floor. So you have basically always a full coverage of your installation, and it's always looking for the best route for the easiest way where there's not a lot of traffic. Okay. This mesh setup can also be done in 3 different ways. So first up would be we can combine it, so we can basically have it wireless and wired together. As we can see here on the left side that we have here our main router, and we have here a wireless connection, and to the other one we have a wired connection. So it's a combination of both, but it still is a mesh setup. In the middle we have like a classic mesh setup with just wired devices, but we can also have it just completely wireless. If there are installations where it's difficult to pull cables, we can have it completely wireless. So with these 3 setups, I think there's a solution for every installation. Okay, then we are coming to the end of the presentation. We have also added to the SOHO products a few wireless bridges. They're actually not part of the SOHO line, but still I think they can be a little bit part of the SOHO installation. So it is the EST series. So we have here 3 different models, depending on the range, all the way from 500 meters all the way up to 5 kilometers. Those devices normally are coming in a pack of 2, which means we have a transmitter and a receiver. They come pre-programmed, so it's basically plug and play. On the back of the device you can see which one is the transmitter and which one is the receiver. And also those devices can be mounted outside, or that they're basically made for just to make them to mount them outside. So it's basically like a radio link with IP54, and you can basically mount them where you need it. So you have a pole mounting option, or you just mount it on the wall depending on the installation. So I think with this EST series, with those radio links, we're just going to complete this SOHO line, or this SOHO product line. So I think with all those devices, you can cover basically all your needs. Okay. All right. I would say that was it for the first part for the presentation. Let me just check. Exactly. If you have questions during the webinar, you can write it in the group, or you can also contact us later on via mail or call us on the support number. Okay. Great. So next up, I think we're just gonna go into the demo part, where we can find our devices. So products, if we go into networking and we go into SOHO, we find all our SOHO products. Obviously we need to select the brand Reyee, but here we can find all the devices available right now with our extenders, with the routers. For example, this is the extender I've just shown. This is a really interesting device we're gonna see now in the demo part. And also here we see those M18 and M32 routers for a mesh setup. As we can see, they always come in a pack, but if we need to add another one, we can also have them just one device. And then here we have our Wi-Fi 7 router, just the new device. And then the radio links I have just shown in the last slide. We can find them here, radio links, the EST series. As we can see, we have here ranges from 500 meters all the way up to 5 kilometers, depending on what the needs are for the installation. Like I said, the EST series we can find here. Okay, great. So next up, we're going to go a little bit more into the cloud itself, how to set up everything in the cloud. Therefore, I'm just going to bring this over in the cloud itself. So I think I'm not going to go too much into the details how to add the devices into the cloud, or just like the basic stuff, because we have discussed this in previous webinars. What I'm going to focus on today is those two projects here. I've called them remote setup, and I have called the other one the mesh setup. First up, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a mesh setup. Therefore, I'm just going to go into the project itself. I have here added the devices previously already with our Wi-Fi 7 router and with two extra devices connected as mesh devices. And now we're just going to see how easy it actually is just to set up a SOHO network. Let's see how we're going to do this first. I think first what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the main router just to see what options if we have, because obviously not everybody needs a mesh setup. In some installation, just a main router sometimes is just enough. So we're just going to see what does this Wi-Fi 7 router has to offer. Therefore, we're just going to click on the device itself here again, and then we see it here right away. And then we're going to go into the web interface of the device. Therefore, we click on eWeb on the right top, we create a tunnel, and then we have access to the device itself. As you can see right away, a really fancy device. Also the web interface itself, you know, it just has like a little a gaming vibe here also with this here on the right side. Okay, so first up, we're just going to see what does this device has to offer. Therefore, we're just going to go into more. Okay, more. There we go. So first up, we have our one setup. This device right now, which is recommended, we have set it up with DHCP. Physically connected here to the one port. As you can see here, I have connected just a one from the provider here coming into my router itself. Exactly, and we have set it to DHCP. We have here all the information about the network itself, the DNS server, the IP, subnet mask, and gateway. Okay. Then we have here the LAN settings. Exactly, more settings, IPv6. Exactly, but we're not gonna focus too much on that, because I think what is most important is basically our VLAN or Wi-Fi settings. Therefore, as we can see here, we have here in the main part of the Wi-Fi, we can see all the different options, all the different Wi-Fis we can set up. So first up, we have just the main Wi-Fi. By default, the dual band is activated, but if we want to configure it differently, if we just want to, for example, turn off the 2.4 Wi-Fi, or if we want to turn off the 5, we can just turn it off, and we can also set different passwords. We can just also change the security level of it, so we can change this here in this setup. And also, because this is like a specific gaming router, we can also set up the game Wi-Fi. We can give it its SSID name, and also the security can be changed if it's open, or if you want to add a password to it. Okay. Then, if we click on advanced settings, we also have here some additional settings we can make. Effective time. So we can also set the limit time-wise for this Wi-Fi. We can also hide our SSID so that we have to pass it on to the client. We can also have some client isolation. So basically what it says here, prevent wireless clients of this Wi-Fi from communicating with one another. We have band steering, so we have a lot of different setups we can do here in the advanced settings as well. Okay, so this would be the main Wi-Fi. Exactly, we can turn this, enable this here again, do a dual band. Okay, so next up would be the guest Wi-Fi. So for example, in a small home or in a restaurant setup, we can turn on our guest Wi-Fi. Again here, the dual band, we can here enable or disable it. We can set up our SSID, we can set up the security, we can also use set up the password. We can configure our speed limits for our guest Wi-Fi depending what we need. Like for a guest, for example, in a restaurant we can just limit it because, I don't know, for example, they just need to look at, for example, just at the card or just check their messages. So we can limit this to whatever we would like to have it. And also here again, we can limit the time. We can also hide the SSID if needed. We have the guest isolation already enabled by default, which I think is a good thing. But we can also, if we would like to disable it, we can disable it. And all the other options we have basically in the main Wi-Fi as well. We can set this up here. Okay. We're just gonna we leave it like that. Okay. Then next up would be the IoT setup. So basically for home automation, if you have home automation devices, you can basically enable this and set it up like the other Wi-Fi's again, but we're not gonna go too much into that. And then next up would be the health mode. So this is what we talked about before, about basically reducing the radiation. We can enable this and we can have a schedule where we want to have the effective time and can save this. Okay. Roaming optimization is normally enabled. And then we have here at the end more settings. But basically what we are focusing on are the Wi-Fi settings, guest Wi-Fi, and the IoT if needed. Okay. Then next point would be block list and allow list. I think this is also something which could be interesting. Here we can basically block devices. We can block them completely, or we can also like set a schedule, right? So we can block devices completely by just adding the MAC number, and we can give it a name we would like to have. So this is a complete block here. And then here, for example, we can also we can set up also an allow list. So I can say, for example, hey, I just want to have a couple of devices which have access to it, and that's it. For example, here right now I have my own phone connected as a client, and I could add this one to my allow list. And then it's going to just show up here. So we would have here our block list, which we could block a device, or we have here our allow list. So it's either or. We have to set up either a block list or either a list where we allow devices. Okay. Good. Talking about the block list as well. For example, I have here my client. If I click on clients, I can basically here manage my blocking schedules. So like I said, I can completely block it, or I can set up a schedule. Like for example, at home, I just want to have my kid. I want to give him the option just to connect once a day for an hour. So what I can do here is can manage my blocking schedule. I can add a schedule. I can say, what is my schedule? Is it on weekdays? Is it on weekends? Or I can also set it up custom. For example, I can say, hey, I want to have it basically every day, right? And I just want to give the time from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, for example. I can add the device itself via the Mac, and I can say and give it a name so I know what it's for. I can also say in a restaurant, for example, I can do it on weekends. I can just do it on weekdays or always. So in this part, I have basically the option to personalize my blocking schedules. Okay. Or I can here just block it right away. For example, this my phone right now is connected, so I can block it right away. Just click here on it. If you want to shoot to block list, okay. If I go back to home, more, I go to VLAN block allow list, and now I have here my device again. Or I can delete it again, and then I should have access again to this network. Okay, great. So now we have covered basically our Wi-Fi settings. We have block and allow list. Next up, work modes. As in the presentation before, we have seen the different types of modes we have. Mode router, access point, wireless repeater, or WiISP. Obviously right now that one is used as a home router, so this is also why it's set as a router. But if needed, that one can be changed. Also, if I add my device in the cloud itself, if I add a device to my installation, let me check. If I go back to workspace, mesh setup. Oh yeah, if I want to add a device, I can also here choose what mode I would like to have for my device, and this mode is then showing up here. So when I have set it up, I have selected router, and this is what's showing up here right now. Okay. Then the repeaters. So basically, if we just use it as a router and nothing else, most important are those Wi-Fi setups. But if you now want to set up a mesh network, this repeater, this part is going to be important. What I'm going to do right now, I think I'm just going to, because right now I have already set it up. I have my main router, which would be the gaming router here right now, with the Wi-Fi 7 router. And I have two other routers added to my setup as mesh routers. What I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to delete them. I'm going to show you how easy it actually is to set this up. Therefore, I'm just going to basically select those two devices, and then I'm going to delete devices. Device going to be deleted because it's online. Okay, so the other options we have is on each device. Oh, where is it? 1 second. There we go. Each device has a reset button on the back, so we're just gonna reset it. What we have to do, we just reset the device for 10 seconds. We check the LED indicators till they start to flash. And then we're just gonna wait till it turns off. Now it turned off, and now the device actually should be reset to factory default. We're gonna do the same thing with the other one as well. Here we have the LED indicator here on this side. It's flashing. Just wait a couple of seconds. Wait till it turns off. Okay. Now, let's see if I've done it right. Now they're offline. Now I can choose them, and I can delete them and say yes. So they're offline, and here as well, in the cloud itself, I'm just gonna delete those two devices. And that one, yes, I'm sure I would like to delete it. And the other one as well, yes, I would like to delete them. Okay. So what I have right now basically is just my main router. As you can see here also, it just shows the one connection. And my Wi-Fi 7 router. So now I just want to extend my installation, and I want to add 2 devices to my mesh network. Therefore, I'm just going to access my main router, which was this one. And here on the right top, I have the option of adding a Reyee unit. So what I do therefore is just click Add. New devices must be Reyee mesh Wi-Fi router or range extenders. So it gives me here another info that the device need to be compatible. And then some additional information. So I have my primary router, which is connected to the modem and obviously powered up. And my secondary routers, for example, here that one or the other one, just connected to the power. I have done that, click on Next. And then the main router is basically checking the network for the devices. I have here the first device showing up. To add it, I'm just selecting it and I wait for 1 or 2 minutes to mesh it up, just basically to connect it. So that goes pretty fast. We do that with one device, already in 30 seconds. Okay. Okay, let's wait a bit. In the meantime, I'm just going to bring this over. What I also would like to give you, like just as an information, additional information. My colleague Ferdi has created several articles on our knowledge base about network. If you're not that familiar with network, if you need information, you can also just go on our into our knowledge base, and what we have here is we have everything about networking. So if you need information, for example, what is Wi-Fi 4, 5, 6, and 7, we have here basically everything explained, just to have a better idea. And like I said, there's several articles created just all about networking, the basics about networking. And also we have here a basic training from Q2 last year with here, for example, the first one, Reyee ideas and examples, or for example, the SOHO network, just like some additional information if you're new into networking. So this just as an additional information. Now we go back to our mesh setup. So now, as you can see, pairing is successful. The mesh network is established. So the new device is added to the main one. And we'll also share the SSID and password we have set up in the main router to the mesh router, to the secondary router we have just added, as you can see. And now we can just basically set the device to where we want to have it. So right now I have it right next to the main router to set up the mesh. And right now I could place it where I would need it. So for example here, for example tips. Exactly just in the room I would like to have it here with the main router, and here the secondary router in the room I would like to have it. Exactly. And here we have also the additional information. Up to 5 secondary routers can be added to the mesh network, okay? So when I have done this, I'm just gonna say yes, finish. Let's wait till should be loading. Give me the new router in the mesh network. There we go. Let's go to the home page of the router. There we go. So now we can see if it's really connected. Therefore, we go to this part. So as we can see, one connection, main router, and we have here our range extenders, basically our mesh device. We can see it here. It's the EW1300G device. And basically all the information we have set up in the main router is now transferred to the secondary one. So, okay, now we're going to do the same with the other one. So we have 3 devices connected. So we do the same, add another one, and we see the second one is also showing up right away. Just click on it, and it's going to take another 1 to 2 minutes till the device is paired. What we can do in the meantime, we can go quickly to the cloud and go to our workspaces. We go to the mesh setup, we go to the devices, and now what we can see is that I have just added my main router to the cloud, and my first secondary router now is automatically added to the cloud, so I don't have to do anything. And if we go to workspace, we can also see it here right away. Look at how fast it actually is. The second one is already added as well. So we can see now our 3 devices, our mesh setup. Let's go back. Here, pairing successful with the same as well. So I could theoretically place it now where I would need it. Click on finish. And I have here my device. Go back here, and now we have 2 range extenders. Here the 2 devices. Okay. And I can also now access those devices in 2 different ways. If I, for example, would need to do some setups in the device itself, even though it's actually not necessary because all the settings are done in the main one. But I could also just access them. I just click on manage. For example, on one of my secondary routers. And then I'm getting directly into the web interface of my secondary one. I have my overview, I have my clients, I have my Wi-Fi setup. So we can see here with all the information, and here also it says tips, the secondary router is managed by the primary router and cannot be edited locally. So, but here as you can see, everything is set up. The work mode here is set as wireless repeater because it's the secondary one, not the main one. Exactly, so this is basically it. I could also reboot my device from here if I need it. Yeah, so that's basically it for the mesh setup. So actually quite easy to set up, and can be done with all devices which are compatible or have those have this mesh option. Like for example, also the other one, for example, the M18 or M32, they work exactly the same way. We go into the wireless, we go back to SOHO. Like all the devices which have the mesh option can be set up that way. For example, if we click here on Reyee, for example, those devices, the M18 and M32 can be set up the same way. Here all the devices which have the mesh. Exactly. Great, so this will be the first part of the demo. The second part of the demo will be the remote setup. Therefore, we're using as an example the EW300N, which would be this device. Where do we have it? This device. So this is a really cheap device which costs about 10 euros, so not really expensive, which we think could be a really interesting device for every installer. What is the idea actually behind it? The idea is basically using the cloud setup as our advantage. So we can add our devices to the cloud and manage them from all over the place. So we can, what we want to do with this device, we want to access through this device remotely to our installation, so that we don't have to go physically to the installation and do the setup there. Okay, so this is basically the idea behind it. So, and this, therefore, we think this should be a device which should be installed in every installation. It doesn't matter if it's CCTV, if it's intercom, or whatever you do. Just always have it with you. It's quite cheap, and just install it there. Okay. Now I'm just going to show you what the idea behind it. What is the idea behind it? So I don't want this device to process any traffic or anything. The only thing I want to do is basically have it in the cloud, and that it gives me access to all the devices I have in the installation. Therefore, I've added a device to it. So let's say I have an installation, I have a PoE switch, and on that PoE switch I have a CCB installation and I have an intercom installation with it. And I need to do some changes. I need to do an update, I need to do just a change of the settings of a camera, for example. So therefore we're going to put our EW300N also on that switch. So what it's to simulate this, to give you an idea what I mean with it is, therefore I have just added it to my cloud. I have registered it here. I have added it. I have it. I choose it as a home router, and now I have it just in here. So right now, I want to show you how easy it is actually to access to your devices, which are or access remotely to your installations. Like I said, I have it connected on that switch. On that switch, I have all my devices. So therefore, I'm just going to go into the device itself, into the main page, into the monitoring point of my router, and I click here on More. So, and I can see here the third option is tunneling. So this is the main point. This device, through the cloud, gives me the option of a tunnel. So what is really important is that in the installation itself, you know the IP address of your devices. Don't set your devices on DHCP, set your camera, your recorder, your intercom system to a fixed static IP address, because we need this to then access the device, okay? For example, just to show you that I'm not in the same network, for example, I try to access, for example, a recorder I have here in our department in SAT. And right now I'm in a different network and I cannot access it, okay? Therefore, I'm going to go back to the cloud and I create my tunnel to the device itself. Therefore, I click on tunnel and here I click on custom. I fill in my IP address of the device, which I have written down somewhere, or I know. 97, and 171.175. Okay, so this is the IP address, and the destination port will be there, 8000. And then I just create the tunnel. Then I can see here I have my tunnel list, and the last one I've created will be this custom one with the IP address. And also I can see here right away when this tunnel is expiring. For example, all those here at the bottom are already expired. Now it's creating. Just going to click on refresh, and then I'm going to click on go. And then I get the information how to access the device, how I can create this tunnel. Therefore, I'm just going to copy out this information with the host and the port. I'm going to fill in this up here. I'm going to delete here this additional information which I don't need. And I can access my device right away. For example, in this case, it would be a Sapphire Smart Recorder. Here we are, right away. I have read and agreed. And I can fill in my password. I don't need this information, but I want to save it. And that's basically it. And here we are. Directly on the recorder itself, the main entrance of our department. It can go all the way into my setups and can do everything from remote. And I can do this with a lot of different devices. For example, if I know the IP addresses, I can, for example, also set up a new one, because I know I have also my intercom installation, my intercom setup, for example. And I know that I have my monitor from Aquavox, for example, on this IP address, and I can then just do the same with this as well. Just copy the information, go in here, delete the additional information we don't need, and say OK. Page isn't working. Let's wait. All right, let's see what the issue is. Okay, we're going to refresh. 200, 204. Let's go again. This is what when you do it live, right? Not everything is always working right away. Okay, let's delete the information again. We don't need. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there's when you do it live, so maybe the device is offline, but just to confirm that it's actually working, I can also like use, for example, another device, 197. There we go, for example, that one. Just to give you an idea how easy it is to access your devices. And that's actually working. I'm gonna create one, go. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, there we go. Which is delete this additional information. And for example, we can here actually access our camera, for example. There we go. Okay, so this is basically the demo from the remote setup. So just to give you an idea that with the cheap, simple device, can make your work super easy, especially if you have installations like far away from your office. So you don't always have to go there. You can do basically everything from your desk just with this EW300N device. Okay, great. So from my part, that's it. Thank you for watching. Like I said before, if you have questions or if you need more information, contact our support team, contact our sales team. And then I would say we see us in the next training. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want to know more about our security products, subscribe to the Visiotech channel and activate the notifications to always stay updated on the latest videos.